Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to USTA Florida's Here to Serve podcast. My name is Laura Bowen, and I'm the Executive Director here at USTA Florida. And as we head into January, the topic of the day is high school tennis because our season is about to begin here in the great state of Florida. I'm very lucky today to have two special guests who are going to dive into this topic with me. First up, I have Tom Beard, and Tom is the head coach of our local Lake Nona Lions, who are the defending state champions. Welcome to the podcast, Tom.
Thank you.
And joining Tom today is Michael Hughes. Michael is the Director of Digital Strategy and Business Development at USTA. Thank you for joining the podcast, Michael.
Thanks for having me, Laura.
Such a pleasure. Okay, so this is one of my favorite topics personally. Can't wait to dig in. But before we do that, can each of you tell our audience a little bit about yourselves and how you got involved in tennis? Michael, I thought I'd start with you.
Sure, happy to go first. So I'm actually not from Florida. I'm from in USTA speak. I'm from the Midwest section. I'm from Indianapolis. I got started playing tennis sort of late adolescence, but played high school tennis in Indianapolis, and sort of went to college, did the whole journey in college. Got out of college, actually started working for USTA. I worked for a USTA district in Central Indiana, and then I worked for the Midwest section, and I've been with the national office for I guess it's going on about 7 years now. So I've overseen our league program and our tournaments, and over the course of the last couple of years, gotten involved with our digital and technology strategies.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you played high school tennis because that gives you a great perspective coming into this topic and what we're hopefully going to be doing in the future. Tom, you are up. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you maybe got roped into tennis? Maybe that's the best way to say it.
I definitely come at it from a different angle. I did not play high school tennis. My father is a tennis fan. And so I grew up watching tournaments. If it was on TV, I learned tennis via my father and watching TV. I actually am a basketball coach by trade and a teacher. This is my 28th year teaching. I taught basketball or coached basketball for 18 years on a couple state championship teams there as well. And when I stopped coaching basketball, I wanted to coach something that I just enjoyed doing. I didn't feel the pressure that came with basketball. And so I kind of badgered our tennis coach here at school to let me be part of the program. And it literally took a couple years of badgering. But finally, she allowed me to come on. And I kind of just took my experience from basketball, running a basketball program, and brought it over to running a tennis program. So I do come at it from a different angle.
Yes, and I love that about you. And that's actually really common with high school tennis coaches, I find, is that, a lot of them are teachers or sometimes even parents that played a different sport, but really love tennis, or, somehow the school said, hey, we need a tennis coach who's in, and and they got to be that. So thank you very much for sharing that. I'm going to stay with you for a minute here because I love that your background is in another sport. Yet here you are coaching our defending state champions. So can you tell us a little bit about where you see the demand for high school tennis right now, and how many kids are you typically seeing try out for the team in any given year?
I'll tell you, I think that because of literally where we sit and we're so close to the national campus here in Lake Nona, that we may have an unfair advantage as compared to other schools. Since the campus was built, we probably average 60 to 80 kids that try, both boys and girls, for the boys and girls teams.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a good amount of kids that come out. Unfortunately, Orange County, my school district, only provides funding for one coach for each sport.
Mm-hmm.
So really have enough to have like a JV team and a freshman team, and those things don't really exist. I talk to friends that coach at other schools, and they're hard to field a team. So I think that in our school district, we have both ends of the spectrum. Even other schools that aren't near the campus can field 50 kids at a tryout, but then other schools don't. And that creates, I think, one of the issues why we're all here talking today. So.
Yeah, and that's a great observation. And Michael, I know you are involved in this space more at the national level, so I'm curious, what kind of demand are we seeing for high school tennis across the country? Is it similar to what Tom's saying? And why is it important for us to focus on this space?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So I think so high school nationally, there's about 350,000 players that play in high school tennis across the country. The one nice thing that the pandemic brought us was more tennis participation, and that's certainly shown up in youth, and certainly youth go into high school, and we want to have a robust, competitive, high school tennis system for them. As a national governing body of the sport, with a pretty keen focus in on making sure that youth get into our game, experience it in a positive way. It's really incumbent on us at the USTA to help provide support and resources to coaches like Tom and the 350,000 players around the country to make sure they adopt tennis for a lifetime.
Yeah, and what I love about high school tennis, like you said, is it's just something that adds to the ecosystem that we have. So kids can get experience playing on a team at a young age, right? Versus just solely focusing on the individual tournaments and those kinds of things. So it's a different type of dynamic. I played a lot of sports in high school, and I would say it was really, fun. It was how I made my friends. So I think that there's such a benefit there to that.
Yeah, agreed.
Tom, as a high school coach, you're in this every day. What are some of the biggest challenges you have, and what tools and resources do you use throughout your season to help you?
Again, I think we're in an unfair advantage just because of where our school is. But the thing, and from talking to other high school coaches in my world here in Central Florida, it's two things. It's one, it's the access to courts. There's just schools are literally built with no tennis courts, and so then you have to look to a city or some a country club or something to be able to have courts to be able to play on. And then the other is realistically is parents. Is so many parents are helping their kids and understanding individual playing in those tournaments as individual and understand that there is another part of tennis. It's almost we have to like retrain parents. For these kids that want to play college tennis, this is a great glimpse into what college tennis is. It's high school tennis, and so I would
So
say those
well
are big
said.
things. Um, Again, because I come from a basketball background where I ran a program where we did have a varsity, a JV, a freshman, you had 150 kids try out. I'm pretty comfortable in trying to create a program to address the needs of what we have in my particular school. So from talking to parents, from talking to community members, fundraising, I'm pretty comfortable with doing that. And I think that's what has given us an advantage here is my ability just to go and get the right people. And most importantly, once the people are here, to get out of their way. Let people do what they're experts at. My job is to get them all together, and then I back up and let them do their thing. And that's really why we were successful. It's not because of me. It's because of those coaches and then those kids and the work that they put in.
Well, you have a team approach, which I think is actually such a great reflection of the sport you're coaching, right? As you bring in talent and you organize them, and everybody has something to contribute, which is wonderful.
I will tell you, just if I forgot to say this, there's one thing that's very important to me that I do is we don't have a girls tennis team. We don't have a boys tennis team. We have Lake Nona tennis. We have one.
Mm.
We have a couple squads, but we have one program. That was one of the things that was a requirement I had. I'm like, we don't need multiple coaches as head coaches. We'll have one head coach for one program.
Love that. Love that. Um, so you mentioned something really important that I want to make sure that we emphasize here, which was how great high school tennis is as preparation for college tennis, right? And there are a lot of similarities there, and that actually is a good tee up for my next question, which is really for you, Michael.
Hmm.
I know the ITA actually has a pretty robust platform for college tennis coaches. Is
Mhm.
this something that USTA is able to duplicate and then make that available to high school coaches like Tom to make their lives a little easier?
Yeah, so let's take a quick step back to the USTA tournaments are run by a platform. I'm sure your listeners have heard this before, heard talked about Surf Tennis. Our tournament module is called Surf Tennis. We actually have the same partnership with the technology vendor that the ITA does. So the ITA's platform is actually derivative of our Surf Tennis platform, all the tournament tools. So about 9 months ago, we actually had the ITA platform cloned, and we actually tried it out for high school tennis in a couple different states, predominantly in Texas, to see what administrators, coaches, players, parents thought about it. It was a really good case study, so much so that it is now a large part of our digital strategy in 2023 and 2024, that we have started development on a platform that will support in-season high school tennis. Development has started on that, and we do expect to have that bear out in the fall. So we won't be able to hit you quite for this spring season, Tom, but we'll look to support you into the future, and it's going to take a lot of feedback from end users like you for us to put a product out there that, quite frankly, supports you as opposed to become just being an additional burden on you as a coach. That's sort of our aim there.
And shout out to our friends in Texas. I mean, when it comes to high school tennis, they are like the gold standard. And Bobby Kleinecke, if you're listening to this, thank you for all the work that you do. I know that you've done a lot of work here, but to me in this space, if Texas has tested this platform and has piloted it, then it's probably a really, really good system, and we're excited to see it. As a follow-up question to you, Michael, obviously high school tennis falls under the state high school tennis associations, and there's tons of different rules and regulations that vary state to state. So how are you working with those state associations to roll this out? And I think you mentioned it might be available in Florida by next season sometime.
So so that's a great point. High school tennis is not high school tennis, no matter where you go. There are differences. Texas is different than Florida. I learned very quickly that Indiana high school tennis is not the same as anybody else, and we split the guys and the girls into the spring and the fall, and not everybody does that, and so on and so forth. What we have done to make sure that we capture the needs of a great majority is we actually have a high school digital council that's been teed up so that we have end users from various states. We have representation from various state associations, coaches, folks who also coach parents, to make sure that we have a broad variety of opinions taken into account as we develop. Now, when it comes to actually rolling those out into different states, then we will be working with those state associations, or sometimes it's coaches associations on a per conference level, depending on what the state is. But I mean, Laura, if there's one thing we know that's great about the USTA family, is that there's reach into all local areas, and it's going to be about sort of leveraging those relationships and making sure everybody knows the power of what this can do for high school tennis.
And I'm pretty sure, based on your background, that if we can manage all the local league rules and regulations, I'm pretty sure dealing with like the state association differences would be simple by comparison. So I have no doubt that this will be a manageable project.
I don't think anybody gets DQ'd out of high school tennis, so
No.
I think we're in good shape there.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Well, Tom, my last question is for you. We definitely, you mentioned this earlier, a lot of times the counties only pay for like one coach per school. And of course, shameless plug here that our USTA Florida Section Foundation actually has program support grants, which can help pay for additional coaches, but we actually need those coaches. So we need more parents, teachers, people like you to step up and say, yeah, I'd like to coach in the middle school or the high school levels. So what can the tennis industry as a whole, and maybe USTA, do to encourage, train, and develop more people like you to coach high school tennis?
I think that's a really big question. As with any sports, the media coverage of that sport is going to create interest in the sport, with like World Cup that was just on. So there's more, like a lot of talking about soccer or football. So kids want to play that, and more people want to play that. I think the drawing more and more attention to tennis, as well as some of the rising stars that we may have come up, so that maybe they don't look the same as tennis players have in the past. I think there's a lot of great stories with tennis here in the United States, and I think that that's going to begin to draw some interest among kids. And then really, it's having community programs that like kids go play soccer as little kids. Kids go play flag football. They play basketball. Where's the tennis? You know, in Orange County, where are the 15 different little small tennis council
Right.
or groups where kids can go and pick up a racket and learn the rules of the game and just play. I mean, and kids, you know, as you said, tennis is something you can play for the rest of your life. You know, my knees attest to why I don't play basketball anymore, but I can still go out there and hit a tennis ball. And at some point, a pickleball. I haven't made it over there yet. I'm hoping I'm.
Yeah, that's a different podcast. We don't, we won't get into that here. But like you, as you can see, I have a vision. You know, my vision has deteriorated over time. So my days of playing softball and, you know, having a ball coming at my face may be at an end. So, like you said, tennis, you can kind of play your whole life. And we have the studies and the data to show that it extends your lifespan. So, from a health and wellness perspective, I wish I had played tennis like legitimately as a child. My mom loved it. So I've played more as an adult now, and I think it's a wonderful sport. But I think your points are really well taken. The more exposure and information and communication we can do around the sport, the more we're going to draw people in, whether they're kids or their parents to coach. And what soccer and Little League Baseball do, you have a lot of parent coaches there. So it would be great to see similar things happen in the high school space. Well, those are all my questions. Thank you both so much for joining me today and for all that you're doing for high school tennis. We are so excited to do more in this space and work more closely with you as we go into the years ahead. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Laura.
For those of you who are listening to the audio only version of this podcast, please log in to USTA Florida's YouTube channel where you can see the full video version. And of course, for all episodes of the Here to Serve podcast, including upcoming topics and dates, visit USTAFlorida.com/here to serve. Thanks for tuning in and have a wonderful day.